Relativity. Albert Einstein says, "I find life in rocks, and I find stillness in humans." The difference between humans and rocks is merely energy and its motion, as well as the knowledge of the system of its movement. There is no doubt that behind this universe there is a regulator that governs its affairs. This term, which has become the name for a mathematical theory in mechanics, is perhaps one of the most significant and impactful concepts that modern thought has known in our era, if not the most influential. Relativity began as a theoretical framework devised by the German scientist Albert Einstein in the early 20th century, 1905 to 1911. It is based on the principle that the laws of physics governing the motion of objects must be formulated independently of the motion of the observer of the studied object. Thus, the concept of relative motion of every object or phenomenon emerged, depending on both its specific state and the state of the observer studying it. In other words, there is no absolute frame of reference to judge any phenomenon or movement. Relativity in mechanics is divided into two levels: special or restricted relativity, where the focus is on the relative relationship between the observer and the observed object, with the constant consideration of their perpetual motion, and general relativity, which concerns itself with the motion of every moving object in relation to another moving object. Special relativity, stemming from the famous Michelson-Morley experiment, proved that the speed of light in a vacuum is constant for all observers, 186,283 miles per second, contradicting Newton's theory. This led to the conclusion that time and space cannot be separated. The fixed speed of light became the basis for calculating time. Thus, it also became the basis for stating that the mass of matter increases with an increase in the source of distance or space and its speed. This led to the conclusion that matter is a form of energy. As for general relativity, it interpreted the transformations of every moving object in relation to or relative to the motion of every other moving object. Everything is in perpetual motion, and the mass of matter constantly transforms into energy, and energy constantly transforms back into matter, all with consideration of the motion of everything. Here, Newton's theory of the smaller mass being attracted to the larger one was understood, and it became a fixed law rather than an incidental observation by Newton. Thus, the law of the curvature of the circular universe was formed, that is, the eternal curvature of space-time, clarifying the infinity of the universe. Every part or moment in it is not flat, as traditional geometry since Euclid once believed. The concepts of relativity, which seem to be the absolute foundation for modern science despite its final denial of absolutes, have influenced philosophy, the arts, history, sociology, psychology, and research methodologies as much as they have impacted ethics and aesthetics. History, after Einstein, was no longer the same as it was before him. The theory of relativity is what changed the objective image of the world, and the old scientific certainties collapsed before it. It acted as a hammer that shattered this certainty, and Einstein's monumental process revealed to us that we live in the prison of our senses. We cannot be certain of anything outside the realm of our senses and cognitive abilities. This theory, however, transformed into a terrifying reality when it moved beyond being merely a theory that complements all scientific and philosophical theories alike. The theory of relativity also has its philosophical aspects. Einstein himself stated that the theory arose in his mind as a result of his imaginative flights, in which he tried to envision the universe in a new way. To the extent that we can understand the theory, away from the mathematical complexities, our limited senses grasp that our judgments on things are relative judgments, not absolute truths. The world we see is not the real world. It is merely a conventional world that we live in, trapped within the symbols that our minds invent to refer to things whose true nature we do not know. For example, the white light we see as white when passed through a glass prism breaks into 7 colors: yellow, orange, red, green, blue, violet, etc. These colors are actually waves that differ only in their lengths, with varying frequencies of vibration. These light effects are not colors, but merely waves and vibrations. The visual centers in the brain interpret these nerve stimulations as colors. The nerve cells in the eye's retina respond differently to each type of vibration. Thus, nothing inherently possesses color. It is merely a stimulus that the brain distinguishes from others. Take green fields as an example. What happens is that the plant leaves absorb all light waves of all lengths, except for the wave of a certain length that enters our eye and affects our cells. This creates the effect that, in brain terminology, is called green. Similarly, taste is relative to the taste buds in the tongue. What is sweet to us may be bitter to another creature's sensory organs. Water, steam, and ice are all the same chemical substance, composed of the combination of hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. Their gaseous, liquid, and solid states are merely different manifestations of the same reality.